Big changes to Locked On, a major announcement to talk about, plus Illinois preview. We got to talk about it.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. I'm your host, Ryan Harings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Really do appreciate all the everydayers that are always here for us, helping build this community. Y'all are amazing. You're giving time, and that's the most important thing any of us have. So thank you for helping build this community. Teased it before the show, but we're going to talk about Illinois today. Big game coming up. We have to talk about the Illinois preview. Could ask Rajeev, who is the veteran player on the football side that breaks out this year? Who's the heart and soul of this team? That's going to be fun. Plus, we have a new general manager to talk about. They've replaced Max Steinecker, at least part of what Max did. So we have a bunch to talk about today. But we teased it. Big announcement. Some changes coming to Locked On. And I'm really excited about this. And I teased this for a while, that some things are happening that I wanted to do a little bit more to provide more coverage, make the community better. One of those things is having Grace on. So we're talking women's hockey, volleyball. The other is Rajeev is going to officially join Locked On in a capacity. And I am so stoked for it because there's not a better guy. I mean, Rajeev is incredible. And I think it's going to add new perspectives to this. It doesn't really change anything. I'm still going to be here a ton. But Rajeev, yeah, this is going to happen.
Yeah, I'm pumped about this. This is great. Obviously, the first thing I ever did in this space was come on this show now 3 years ago. I don't even lose track of time, but it's been so fun. And the Locked On Badgers community that you have built and that we've built with all of our shows has just become so great. And yeah, being able to be a part of it is fantastic. So the plan is obviously, as you guys know, we'll do a lot of collaborative shows that we continue to do. You'll probably see me do one of the solo shows every week. And for those that watch the Bucky Report, I'm still going to be doing that as well on Sundays with Justin. That's not going to change at the present time. So that's more of kind of the longer form, full hour kind of weekend review show and some deeper stuff. And then, yeah, really, really excited to join Locked On Badgers and be part of this amazing community that you've built and keep it going and keep it growing, right? We want to always be there to provide the best Badger content we can and to make this a really big community, collaborative place for people to come and check out. So excited to be officially joining.
And just to ping on that, this is about making this better, right? So we're going to be able to provide more content, more timely content, different types of things. Anytime you add somebody in, you get new perspectives. So all this content is just going to get better. It's going to be more of it, different types of content. We can collaborate a little bit more doing this. It also allows me occasionally to have a day off where listen, I love this. Doing this show is an absolute honor. It's incredible. I've also done this from Guantanamo Bay. I've had salmonella. I've done it on the road. It's going to be nice to have a day off here and there. But again, you're not going to get any less content. You're going to get more content. And this is a way for us to continue building this. There's more coming, by the way. This isn't the end of it. This is another way to build this community, make this community better, stronger. I'm really stoked for it. So, I mean, that's kind of the announcement, Rajeev, unless there's anything else you want to talk about. But I think it's awesome. I think it's going to make the show better. You're incredible. So I'm humbled to have you part of this team as well. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I think that I'll do a show later this week as kind of my first one, and then we'll go from there. Obviously, I always appreciate the good feedback that we get after these shows. If there's things that you want to see more of or see less of, anything, let us know. We always want to make it a collaborative thing.
I want to hit you with a couple of these quick football questions because I've asked others, but I was curious about your take, and then the comment section starts buzzing after these two. So it's always fun to get the community involved. Who's your Vinny Anthony Award winner this year? And that is the guy, the veteran who's been here for several years, who breaks out this season.
So he's been here for several years, but he's not a guy that we've seen a lot of. And I'm going to say Aaron Witt is that guy. I feel like Aaron Witt's one of those guys that has just been struggling with injury. He's always seemingly just one little step away. And we saw him last year. We saw him have the most snap counts he's ever had. And I feel like this is going to be the year. Now it's a bit of a crowded room, right? We got a lot of different people in there. But he's going to have a chance to shine. So yeah, I'm going Aaron Witt as my Vinny Anthony Award winner.
And what an easy guy to root for. If he does break out, that's a Carter Gilmore type thing where you're just so happy for a guy who stuck with it, who progressed through it, has overcome injuries. Now Gilmore didn't do that, but that'd be an incredible storyline to root for there. Give me your Hunter Wohler Award winner, the heart and soul of the team this year. And that was unquestionably Hunter Wohler last year. Who's that guy this year?
Yeah, I feel like staying in the vein of defense, I'm going to go Christian Alliegro. I think Alliegro is a guy that, has shown that he's really, really good and he can be dynamic in what he does. And the more you saw him play out there last year, the more comfortable I feel like he got. So now I think he can take a step up to kind of be more of a leader within that defense. He's definitely going to be one of the starters out there and in the middle. And when you have that kind of position, right, a middle linebacker, or in Hunter's case, a safety, it's always seemingly one of those guys that really has to be that heart and soul. So I'm going to go Christian Alliegro. I'm really looking forward to what he can do this year.
That is an excellent pick. That was my pick as well. Yeah, that's an excellent pick. A couple of people in Discord, and also I think Nick brought up Billy Edwards Jr. as a guy who could be the heart and soul of this team. Something that Locked on Terps guy talked a lot about. Which, by the way, if your quarterback is your heart and soul leader, that's like your point guard being your leader. That's like your catcher in baseball being your leader. It's such an important thing to have your quarterback be that guy. But yeah, I love Alliegro. That's where I went as well. Let's go the John Tonje question. This is actually a new one I added to this. So we haven't asked this one before. Who is the transfer guy this year for the football team that breaks out and becomes a star, if there is one?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Billy Edwards. I just feel like he's the guy that, like, I really think he's in this as, look, we tend to be very optimistic around here. You all know me. I really feel like he's about to have a great season with Grimes, the way this offense is looking, the weapons around him, the offensive line he has in front of him. Like, that can't be overstated. He is going to be really well protected and have a good running game to go along with his skills and his ability to kind of break the pocket and be dynamic, throw on the run. He's an accurate passer. And you couple that with our receiving core, I really think the offense can be special. And if it's going to be special, he's got to be special. And I think that's going to happen. I'm really excited about what we're seeing, kind of return to a bit more Badger roots. Yeah, Billy Edwards, hopefully he's going to be that star, just like we've been talking about with our guy Tonje.
Dude, that would be awesome. Because again, if you talk about the heart and soul guy, which some people said Billy Edwards, you talk about a star maybe as Billy Edwards, and then you're talking about your quarterback as that guy. This offense is much better. I don't know if he has star in him. It's funny, we were doing the Locked On Big Ten community show last week, and I was like, yeah, we got Billy Edwards coming in, 15 touchdowns, 9 picks. And I could see the former Pac-12 hosts who are now in the Big Ten are like, gosh, that's not very good, Ryan. I'm like, you don't know what we've been through.
So what was your pick for this?
I think it's one of the receivers. So I went back and forth between Hamper and Ballard. Ballard is interesting just because he has so many physical tools. Like, it's almost like a car that's just been stuck in the garage since the 50s, but it's got a V8 in it. Like, it can go, and it just has to get the right driver behind it. And then Hamper averaged like 18 points, something yards per catch last year, big play threat. I think one of those guys, because I really think Edwards is just going to give us respectable quarterback play, which is incredible for where we've been. That's a huge step. But I think I'm going to go with one of the receivers. Probably Hamper. I'm a little wary of a receiver who really hasn't had any production, even with physical tools. I know the depth chart at Ohio State. I think I'm going to go Hamper on that one.
I think Kozio also can get a lot of love here too. Like, you can definitely, I mean, he had 94 catches last year. You could definitely see him being a star, first couple round draft pick. I mean, he clearly is a guy that looks like he's going to play on Sunday. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him really have a breakout.
Let me give you the Elijah Hills. Oh no, I'm going to change it up. Nizer Forkran, the player who's a starter all year, solid player, but consistently underrated.
I mean, you know how I feel about a guy like Preston Zachman. I just think that Zachman's always that guy for me. I feel like he never seems to get the respect and love that I think he should get, because he's a hard worker. You look at his snap counts, the dude just plays every single play. Every single week, he's just constantly out there. He gives his all. He is a really important part of that. And this year, he's really going to be anchoring that safety unit. So yeah, I'm going Zachman for that. I've always been a big fan of his, and I hope he gets a lot more love.
That's where I went to. I went Zachman as well. Let me give you mine quick. The DA question, I went Cade Yakimelli as the veteran guy who's going to break out. The Wohler question, I also went Alliegro. We talked about Tonje. And then for the Forkran Award, I also went Zachman. I think he's so underrated as a guy who's going to start the entire year. The coaching staff is thrilled to have him back. Let's just be honest, like, safeties that look like him get underrated athletically. He's more athletic than people think. He's super solid. He tackles well. We talked about it, especially compared to some of the other pieces on this defense the last couple of years. I absolutely think he's an underrated starter. I think he's a huge part of that defense. And getting him back was as big as maybe not as big as getting a Ricardo Holman back, but it's not that far behind.
I mean, I would put it right on par because both of those positions would have been really not well off without the return of both of those guys. So yeah, it just gives us a little more settled defense in our secondary. Like we needed that. We really needed to kind of just settle in and return some guys to make it a little easier for us next year. And yeah, that's massive.
All right, coming up, we are going to talk about a massive Big Ten game looming against Illinois. Badgers dropped their last one against Illinois, but there is a key piece of Illinois' team that's out. We're going to talk about that next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick break for friends of the show over at Intuit TurboTax. Taxes taxes are tough. You're dealing with piles of paperwork, frustrating forms, and you're waiting and wondering and worrying if you are going to get any money back. You don't really know what's going on. Now taxes are easy. You upload your forms to a TurboTax expert who's matched to your unique tax situation. They're going to customize it for you. An expert who's backed with the latest technology, which cross-checks millions of data points for 100% accuracy. While they work on your taxes, you get real-time updates on their progress, and you get your money back, the most money back guaranteed, all while you go about your day. No stressing, no worrying, no waiting. Now, this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax, get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Disclaimer, only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. All right, let's get back into this. Let's talk a little Illinois here. Huge game, Rajeev. Huge game coming up in the Big Ten slate for the Badgers. Let me start with just kind of where these teams at. Let's level set this. Illinois coming in 17-9, 9-7 in the Big Ten. Wisconsin's 20-5, 10-4 in Big Ten play. Illinois coming off a 79-65 loss to Michigan State. A game which is closer than that for most of it. Michigan State went on a big run at the end when Illinois couldn't shoot the ball. But Illinois has been scuffling a little bit, a couple injuries. Key one to note, they'll be without forward Morez Johnson Jr., second leading rebounder. Not a guy that really hurt Wisconsin in the first matchup, but still a guy averaging 7 points per game, 6.6 rebounds per game. That is a big loss for them in the front court. Rajeev, let's talk about this game a little bit. What are you looking for here?
Yeah, so on the Johnson thing, he is also a really crucial offensive rebounder for them. He has a really decent offensive rebound percentage. So that's only a big loss. He's also their best rim protector. And that means that I feel like we're going to be able to have a little bit more fun inside with Winter and Krause scoring. And also then Tanjay being able to sort of slice his way in on drives and not have Johnson there to really affect that a little bit, which means the on-ball defenders for Illinois have to be better. They're not the greatest. Like they, like us, can score a lot of points. They average well over 80 points like recently, but they also don't have the best defense. Now they did have a really good defense early in the season, and as the season's progressed, you've seen that sort of decrease. But they've just got weapons. Kasparis Yakachonis is really clean, plays crisp, just understands the game really well. Always seems to get in the right spot to take what looks like a great shot. And how he does it every time is beyond me. And then they, like us, have 7-footers who can shoot. Tomislav Ivicic, he's 7'1". He shoots like between 4 and 5 threes a game. And I think he's averaging 38%, something like that. 36. So they've got shooters. Now, in the Big Ten season, they haven't shot that well from three. So they're trying not to shoot as much. This is going to be an exciting one. I really feel like this team I think they beat us 9 times in a row. Like we struggle with this team, and that streak needs to break. But we are going to be able to find our way in this game a bit. But hopefully we can get this done. It's a much needed one. Starting a 3-game homestand.
Yeah, you get him at home. You got to get him. A couple keys here. The second leading defensive rebounding team in the country. Now, obviously losing Johnson hurts that, but this is a team that pummeled us in that first matchup on the glass, 40-29, I believe. By the way, that was the game, if you remember back, and I'm sure we all do, that was that Crowell game, right, where you came out of that and you talked about it. You're like, gosh, maybe we need to talk about benching him. I said, let's not bench him, but maybe cut minutes drastically. Like we were at that point with Crowell. We were saying, man, this might be broken. And then immediately after that, he went on that run. Guard got after him. He responded accordingly. I expect a big game from him because you damn well know Greg Gard is going to be reminding him of that Illinois game this entire last couple of days. You remember when he had 0 rebounds against Illinois? I do. Like he's been playing so solid since that point. Like a few up and downs, but for the most part, he's been really good. I think he's going to be super motivated in this game because that was an embarrassing effort from him, and he acknowledged it.
And without Morez Johnson being in there, that does make it a little bit better for him. Now, Ivicic is probably going to be on him still, but yeah, that means that he can hopefully have a little bit more success down low. The other thing I would mention is in the first matchup, Trey White, who really isn't in the Illinois rotation right now. Because they're pretty much playing like 6 guys at the present. He had 23 points on 6 of 8 shooting in that first game. He had a few games where he was ill, he didn't play, and now he's back, but he's not really getting the minutes. With Johnson being out of the starting lineup, it probably means that Trey Watt will be back into the starting lineup, which could pose problems for us. He's only a 28% three-point shooter, so he's not really going to kill you at 3, but he can drive. He's very adept at kind of just scoring in different ways, kind of like Atonje does. So I'm hoping he doesn't have the game that he had before. But yeah, like he really crushed us in the first game, and hopefully we can keep him, a little more at bay this time.
Yeah, you're dead on with the rotation showing up for Illinois as well. Some of that has been injury related. Some of it's been they've lost a couple guys with injury illness. This is a team that they like to score. You mentioned it. They've lost one game when they've scored over 80 points this entire season. So they're going to get up and down with us. We have to take good shots while maintaining our tempo, because there are moments where we fall into that lull, right? Illinois averages 65 field goal attempts per game. That is, I think, 10th in the country. So, I mean, they're a top 10 almost field goal attempts per game pace. Wisconsin is going to run with them. We have to continue to take good shots. And where I get with that is their defense falls off dramatically the more action you put them in. If you go over to Synergy, their pick and roll defense, it's bad. Their pick and roll governing the ball handler, the roll man, their defense against dribble handoffs, it's all 50% or lower percentile. The longer you make them play defense, the worse they get. And that's true for a lot of teams, but it falls off dramatically for them. So we talk about this a lot with Wisconsin. How do you not fall into the trap of getting those shots you like, but also keeping your offense flowing? I think they have to make the Illinois defense work a little bit and not get too shot hungry early in the shot clock, which we do at times. And sometimes a guy like Tanjay bails us out, but we got to make Illinois play defense in this game. And I think if you do, you're going to carve them up.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we had in the second half against Purdue was one of the best halves we played probably in a long time. That's not really something that's going to be replicated again. Now, we're not going to score 1.5 points per possession, 1.9 in the second half, missed two-pointers the entire game. And we had to score at the end of that, and we had to do that. So, yeah, I think that we need to be much more deliberate with how we're scoring. And hopefully there were times, it seems like every game, right? You kind of mentioned it. We'll have really good offensive set, working really hard. And then middle of the first half, end of the first half, it's like we just kind of start chucking stuff up. And hopefully we can get away from that. And again, with Johnson not being in there, he is their best defender. Like he's also one of the most impactful defenders on their team. We need to take advantage of that, right? Get into the paint, force the ball into the post, and then use Tanjay and Blackwell to really drive in there. They don't really have that rim protection, and hopefully we can use that to our advantage. And yeah, like we're going to have to score another 90 points. Let's be honest. Like Illinois is going to put up points, and I'm hoping that we can just make our threes, right? Like obviously we're very dependent on the 3-point shot. And if we can shoot a solid percentage, get up 40, 45% or something like that, then we're likely going to be pretty successful here, especially with the loss of Johnson for them.
One more quick key I give you, and I agree. You're going to have to score. I think that's a good point. This is a game, I don't know about 90, but you got to score in the 80s. You're not winning the game unless you hit at least our marks, because Illinois is going to put points on you. The way they run in transition, their athletes, Yakachunas is incredible. Like they have to try to keep him out of the paint. He probes really well. He's really patient. He has great footwork. When he gets in the paint, he's finishing at the 90th percentile on synergy. In other words, that's elite mark. And we both know our interior defense isn't exactly elite, right? We don't exactly have, despite Carter Gilmore channeling a little Dikembe Mutombo last game against Purdue, we don't have a guy that can really deter shots at the rim. That means your perimeter defenders have to keep, whether it's Blackwell, Tanjay, those probably get a lot of the matchup on Yakachunas. They have to keep him out of the paint. They really have to make him take tougher contested shots if possible, because he's really good. And when he gets in the lane, he's basically elite.
Yeah, the same goes for Will Riley. They both have the highest usage percentage on Illinois. They're both at like near 25% usage. And that's a lot. Both of those guys, they love to penetrate and they're very athletic. I mean, Yakachonis doesn't look like the most athletic guy, but boy, is he athletic. Will Riley is a great athletic wing. They've just got athletes out there and then they'll shoot the three. Now they decrease that a little bit, right? But Ivisic can shoot the three, Yakachonis can shoot the three, Riley, what's the other guy? Hummerkaus. Like they've got people that can shoot. So hopefully we it's always going to come down to our defense. This conference title that we're sort of now in the discussion to talk about is going to come down to whether or not we can really defend for 40 minutes. and find ways to win on that side of the floor too. We can win on the other side of the floor, but can we get those key stops and get those kills, and then not allow runs from the other team, because they're going to come.
Let's do predictions. What's your prediction? Illinois game.
Yeah, I do think we win. It's okay. So of these 3 next home games, right? Like we've got it now. We oddly enough, we've actually played 3 road games in February, and we're 4-0 in February, but that's great. It's really a nice stat. Now we've got the home games to make up for it. This is the one that worries me the most, because I think that, those bigs are tough to deal with, and their athletic wings are tough to deal with. I do think we win. Official score for me is 91-84. I think it's going to be close, but we're going to pull away in the end. We're going to need to rely on our offense again. And I'm hoping Blackwell, who didn't have the best game in the last game at Purdue. I hope Tanjay has another one, but I really want Blackwell to step up and kind of, he needs to come back, needs to have that. We need to have a little love for him, hopefully on the reaction show. So yeah, I'm hoping Blackwell has kind of that player of the game type performance.
Yeah, he could use it. He could use that big one. He's been good, but it feels like we've been missing that great black hole performance. By the way, how does it feel to predict Wisconsin to score 91 points? Like, have you squared to that reality yet? You just predicted 91. Like,
I was just on with the Locked On Illini people earlier, just talking to Sonny Verma, just talking about like how our offense, we have never seen an offense like this. Like the fact that we're talking about being a running style, spreading the floor, all 9 guys in our rotation could shoot the 3. That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little. I agree with you on 2 things here. This was the one out of the next 3 that worries me the most. You could drop any of them. You can always drop a game in the Big Ten, but this is the one that worries me the most. I think it is going to be a little lower scoring. Give me I do think Wisconsin wins 81, and even lower scoring at 81 isn't crazy, but 81-76, 81-77. I think it's going to be something like that. But we both have Wisconsin winning. It would be a really big test. This is one of the toughest games left. Is this, outside of the Michigan State game, which is a roadie, toughest game left on the schedule?
For sure. Just because Illinois always gives us fits. Listen, Oregon's not going to be an easy game, but yeah, Illinois is a team that always get we can't ever beat them. It's been multiple years since we've been able to beat this team, so you got to get it done to kind of break that curse.
Agreed. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Coming back, Wisconsin has a new general manager. We got to talk about at least partially the Max Steinecker replacement. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. Also want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. Really do appreciate you. And let's talk about this. So Max Steinecker left for USC. I think we all acknowledge the obvious here. That's a big loss. He's really good at what he does. You have to replace. People aren't necessarily replaceable, but really good people, you have to then replace them with really good people to keep the machine running. So Marcus Sedberry is going to be the new GM. That was just announced. He's been at Wisconsin since 2022. He's been playing a pivotal role in player personnel, revenue sharing, so kind of modernizing the athletic department at Wisconsin. Previous to that, last 5 years at Baylor, where he did connection to new offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes. I like this. So I know there was an idea that you have to go raid someone else's recruiting ace, Notre Dame, LSU, Georgia, to replace Max Steinecker. I think Marcus Sedberry, by the way, Dr. Marcus Sedberry, coming in, he's going to be a 30,000-foot guy. Strategic vision, strategic view. That's his role, managing these really high-level ideas of how are we going to run this program. And I think they're still going to go get a recruiting guy, boots on the ground guy to help replace that aspect of Max. I think long-term this could be really good. I like the hire on the surface. I
completely agree with the 30,000-foot thing. I was going to say 10,000 feet, but I like yours even better, even higher. Look, the program, college football is going in a lot of different directions, and you need someone to kind of control the program from high up to take it into this modern new world that we're living in with NIL and whatever rules are coming out from the NCAA and whether the NCAA is even going to exist. There's so many things. So you got to have someone he's got a really good resume, was at Baylor before. He definitely is a guy that I feel like can run the program like that. I totally agree. Max is like up here, like he can do it all. And Sedberry now will have a different role, and then go out and get another guy who can focus on the recruiting piece, because college sports is changing so much. And if you don't have someone on your team and in your program that can lead it from that high level and really sort of guide you through the changes that are going to be happening, that's going to put your program at a disadvantage. And having a guy that's been there, 2022. So he's already been there for 3 years. He knows the program. He understands what McIntosh's vision is, and being able to kind of go through that, I think, is really critical. So It's not done yet. We've got to fill that recruiting kind of piece of it. But on the surface, I like the internal sort of promotion, bringing in a guy who understands the culture, and we've had a theme going about sort of getting back to Wisconsin, the way Wisconsin's done it with the Grimes hire and that kind of thing. And so I feel like this kind of goes along that vein, right? Like keep with the Wisconsin guy, make some proper changes, and then really make sure that the program itself is in good hands.
Yep, I think it's really well said. A little more background on Dr. Sedberry as well. He was a D1 athlete at Nebraska. He was a track star. So, he has at least, he wasn't a football guy, but he has that perspective of being an athlete. He's been around kind of this middle of the country, Big Ten flavor his entire career, whether Nebraska, Baylor's not, but they're still Midwestern-ish. So I think it makes a ton of sense. I like it. Now, neither of us are probably experts on Dr. Sedberry and what this means. On the surface, it makes sense to me, is what I would say. I want to ask you one last question on the way out of the door, Rajeev. This is a question we got from from Bucks Dairy fan. He said, not a question, it was a comment. The Badgers have one huge weakness in basketball, defending the post. Two-part question. Do you think they have any other weaknesses? And do you think that is a huge weakness?
I think it is a weakness, especially in a particular way, right? Certainly defending the pick and roll when you play guys like Wolf and Golden at Michigan. But yeah, I think defending the post is a problem for us because we don't have the physicality that, let's say, a guy like Trey Kaufman-Wren has, or maybe some of the other guys in the conference. And Nolan Winter doesn't really have that physicality yet. Crowd doesn't either. So that is a weakness. As far as other weaknesses, I think it's really just the ability to score in the post routinely. We can score from three really well, and certainly Crowd can score in the post, but I've never thought Winter is doing enough in the post. I think he just should be given more opportunities. You've mentioned Tanjay in the post. We need to be able to score more with our back to the basket, which was a staple of Bo Ryan teams for years. And I wish this team did a little more of that. So I think just in the paint in general, not necessarily driving and getting the scoring, because we're doing that with some of those guys, but scoring with your back to the basket in the post. I think scoring and defending the post.
It's almost a little more offensive versatility. I can see that. I want to nitpick a little bit on, because there's a reason I put this on there. I think sometimes when you see people score in the post, you immediately put the eyes on Crowell, right? And it's very similar to a quarterback throws a pick, right? You look at the quarterback. It could be the left tackle got beat and he was rushed. It could be the receiver ran the wrong route. We saw some of that last year with Trechka Kahuna. A lot of our issues at the rim, it deals with perimeter defense to me. Like, it feels like quicker guards get in the paint, and then we look at Crowell for not blocking shots. We're not great defending. We're not a great post defensive team. I actually think Crowell's okay positionally. When he gets to just play man up on a guy, he's big, he's a veteran, he knows what he's doing. He's not going to blank an elite center, but he's okay there. I think partially our perimeter defense is a huge component of this. And that's, to me, that's kind of the weakness, right? Allowing people to get in the paint and then not being able to shut that off when they get there.
I think that's a very fair point. You're absolutely right, right? Like, that is an issue that we have to fix. And it's not really something that's going to be fixed this year. We just have to deal with it and outscore the other team, because that's just how we're going to win now. But yeah, no, that's a good shout. Because I agree with you. Even in the last game we just played against Purdue, I thought that there were definitely times where Crowell was positionally stronger, especially better than Winter in that positional regard. But yeah, hopefully we can slowly make some improvements and stop letting these guys just slash their way into the lane all the time.
Yeah, and that's also nitpicking. Like, I'll be very clear, this team is really good. Now, like, you can always find a weakness somewhere. This team is really, really good, and I don't know if there's many other weaknesses, which is a testament to how good this team is. It's deep, it's versatile. We could talk about the lack of a point guard, but the way Klesman's been playing lately, and Tanjay, Crowell, and Blackwell can all pass the ball pretty well. Kamari McGee, I don't know if playmaking's an issue anymore. Carter Gilmore's a pretty doggone good passer as a forward. So I don't know if there's too many holes on this team. I do think the perimeter defense and the post defense, to your point, those kind of work together. I think that is an issue we've seen. I think against really athletic perimeter defensive teams, we can get pushed out a little bit. Like, we can struggle a little bit initiating our offense. We've seen that in spurts. But dude, this team is really good, and we're searching for weaknesses right now, which is a testament to how good this team is.
Yeah, and I will say, covering up some of those weaknesses, like you just mentioned with Klesman, kudos to him. He's had 6 assist games a couple times now, and knowing that he hasn't been shooting the three very well. I mean, he's on paper, he's like one of our worst 3-point shooters, but he also is one of the most trusted 3-point shooters. It's kind of odd to see that he's 28%. But his ability to do the other things and create, which he's doing now, and penetrating and taking the ball all the way to the rim and finding passes, kicking it to the corners. Like, he's doing a lot of those things that are covering up one of those weaknesses. We talk about it's hard to change a team that much in midseason, but Matt Klesmit's really doing it. I mean, he's really taking over that point guard position, and we don't want John Blackwell to have to do that, and that's good. It's good for him to be more of that 2 guy, and yeah, I think that we are seeing some growth, especially from him. And he really stepped up, kind of like Crowell early in the season, didn't have the best time, stepped up. Well, now Max is stepping up, and it's like this team is almost peaking at the right time. Like there is a path to a conference title. It is out there, and we can definitely do it. But starts tomorrow. Right? We've got to get this win against Illinois.
Also be helpful if Ohio State doesn't airball a 5-foot shot against Michigan.
Unbelievable. I mean, I'm like, oh wow, what a great, he got great penetration. And I was watching that game. Michigan, we really need, if you're not sure what we're talking about, Michigan should have lost to Ohio State yesterday, but did not because their point guard missed a 5-footer, airballed the 5-footer.
Airballed it. It's the worst shot I've seen in the history of basketball. That incredible. Anyway, we're going to wrap it there. He is Rajeev. I'm Ryan. Locked On Badgers. When you're done here, go check out Craig Sheeman, Locked On Big Ten. All the biggest Big Ten stories over there from the conference realignment. Obviously, always NIL transfer stuff. Conference previews are coming up. Spring previews are coming up for football teams. Go check out Locked On Big Ten for that. On Wisconsin. And as always, we will talk to you later.